Come on.
Your daddy.
Well, what a great day so far. Is everyone having a good time?
Yes.
Did you hear anything, John? Is everyone having a good time?
Yes.
Well, first of all, what a beautiful setting you've chosen for this occasion. The island of love, the sun is shining, beautiful. You couldn't be more perfect. And Catherine, a vision of Aphrodite yourself. You look absolutely stunning, you really do. And what a great set of bridesmaids as well. All 6, 7, 8, 10. You all look gorgeous anyway. If you want, mate, you can. Anyway, it's a great honour for me to stand here today as John's best man. With knowing John as well as I do, I must admit there were times when I thought I'd never get to stand here. When John seemed destined to be the eternal bachelor. But thank the Lord for modern technology, John. Anyway, I've known John for a fair few years now. First met when John was quite the athlete, apparently, who loved his running. And I say apparently because in all the years since, I've only seen him run once, and that's when he thought he was going to miss last orders. Now, going to the pub seems to be a recurring theme in our friendship. It's something we devoted a lot of time to, honing our skills in the noble art of drinking as much beer as we possibly could. And we took great pride in this newfound talent of ours, and became quite dedicated. I remember on one occasion, John really proved his dedication beyond all doubt. We just arrived at a nightclub, got our pints in, when a girl approached John, looked him up and down, and said, "Come on, you'll do, we're leaving." Now as I stood there open mouthed, because this didn't happen very often, just so Catherine knows, John looked at me, looked at the girl, then looked lovingly at his full pint, before uttering the immortal words, "Now thanks, love, I just got to set up." Now, needless to say, that was the end of that conversation, but I knew from that day on I'd got myself a proper drinking partner. And it was during one of our regular nights in the pub, chatting about life as you do, that we decided we needed a change of scenery. Have a bit of adventure, spice things up a bit, get out and travel and see the world. And that's how we ended up in Bridlington. For a weekend which ended up pretty much like any other weekend in a pub. And even though Johnny managed to get himself a broken nose, this was the start of something new, our first taste of freedom. And so followed several holidays in the sun to such culture capitals of the world as Magaluf and Tenerife. Until one day we finally bit the bullet, chucked our jobs in and headed off to Australia. The land of Oz, where John discovered his love of the age-old Aussie pastime of going walkabout. Firstly, after getting his dream job on a tomato farm, it became apparent that John didn't possess the right qualities to make it as a professional tomato picker. And after only 1 hour, his dreams were dashed and he was sacked on the spot. Leaving John with a 40-kilometre hike home through the Australian countryside in the midday heat. Now this would put most people off walking for life, but not our Johnny here. The next stop was in the outback, home of the Aboriginal people. And I don't want to sound rude, but these must be among the dirtiest, smelliest people we've ever met. And John fitted right in. Like he found his spiritual home. We spent an evening in the pub there, and the locals flocked round John like he was a long-lost brother, regaling him with stories of killing rabbits at 100 yards with a boomerang, and how to find the best widgety grubs. Until John's money ran out, that is, and then so did his new best friend. The next day we headed off to a visitor centre in the middle of nowhere, a red desert as far as the eye could see in every direction. And I still can't explain it properly to this day what happened, but it seems that John got the wind in his nostrils, he heard the call of the wild and decided this was as good a place as any to go walk about again. And before we knew it, he was gone. Now as the bus arrived to take us back to civilization, John was still nowhere to be found. We waited and we waited, but eventually the bus driver had had enough, and it looked like Abo John was going to spend his first night at one with nature. But just as we turned a corner, I'll never forget the sight that greeted us. In the distance, a forlorn figure trudging through the desert, covered in sand and sweat, swatting flies with his hat from his face. And I'd love to tell you what John said as he got on that bus, but it's not really appropriate. But needless to say, Johnny's outback adventure had run its course, and we happily headed to the coast soon after. This was the time that John discovered his love for the underwater world, where we were persuaded to go scuba diving, enticed by the instructor's words. So guys, whatever you do, make sure you dive with a Sheila, hold the hands underwater, and you're in, mate, no worries. Now, unfortunately for John, he never found out what "you're in, mate" mean, as he got partnered with an oxygen-guzzling air pig from Yorkshire called Steve, who did actually need his hand holding, but just helped me sing. But unsurprisingly for someone born with wet feet, John took to scuba like a duck to water, and is still passionate about it to this day. Now, although Australia was a wonderful adventure and experience for both of us, it was also tinged with a lot of sadness. Not long into our trip, John got the call he'd been dreading most. His father Keith's health had deteriorated, and maybe it would be better for John to go back home. Now sadly, John never made it home in time to see his father again. But I never told you at the time, and I'll tell you now. I've got so much admiration for you, mate, for the courage and dignity you showed in such a time. And I know for sure that John still misses his father and thinks of him often. But I know that Keith would be so proud of you, mate. Firstly, for following your dream, getting back out to Australia. But today would be the icing on the cake. To see you so happy and love on your wedding day, with your beautiful wife by your side. You won't be a proud man of heaven tonight. And if you'd just like to raise your glasses, take a moment to toast the most important man who's not here today, to Keith. Now, as I said earlier, it seemed that John would go through life a bachelor. And I had to wonder that he's still a bachelor. So it's quite a surprise to hear down the grapevine that he was actually dating. He dated a girl at that. Actually had a pulse. Now John was very coy about his relationship. I'm shy about it, and this made me all more curious. I'd ask him questions like, "So you've met a girl?" And you get the answer, "Yeah." "So you like it?" "Yeah." "How's it going?" "Fine." "Is she hot?" Hey, you've got to ask these things. But he's either being a typical bloke or a true gentleman, and not too open with his feelings. So I was left wondering how things would work out. Until one day I rang John out of the blue. I've got a strange voice on the phone. Now normally when I ring John, he answers with his caveman voice, more grunts than conversation. But this time, he was there with a rather soft, high-pitched, sweet voice asking, "Hiya." Now when after he replied, "I was fine," you could almost feel his embarrassment down the telephone. But then in the background, his mobile rang, and John went to answer it. Unfortunately, John forgot to press mute on the phone I was on. I had to play gooseberry for 5 minutes while they ripped the sweet nothings down the telephone to each other. John in this same sweet, high-pitched voice. But that's when I knew for sure that John had finally succumbed and he'd met the one. And what a one she is. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's funny, and you make a wonderful couple together. You really do.
Yeah.
I just want to say how happy we are for you both. You've been a great friend to me, John. I love you to bits. And hopefully a friendship will continue. I just want to wish you a wonderful, happy, long life together. So ladies and gentlemen, if you'll just join me once again in raising your glasses. Like I make the toast. To love, to laughter, the happy ever after, the bride and groom, John and Catherine.
The bride and groom. Bride and groom.
Cheers. Thank you. Now, I think on behalf of the bride and groom, you're free to enjoy yourselves and get a drunk in your
Steve, wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mom, how do you stop?
20. You did well.